Hello, this is Dennis with A1 Telephone Service and Repair, A1 Electronics. You can reach us on the web at www.a1-telephone.com, and you can also reach us at 618-235-6959. Today I want to show you a really cool cathedral top Kellogg wooden wall telephone, and this is Jimmy's telephone from South Carolina. And it's a really nice example of a wooden wall telephone. Now, he's got some issues with this telephone. We're going to work on the bells a little bit. Looks like this one's bent and they're loose. We want to tighten up the neck for the transmitter, and we're going to do a conversion on this telephone where we put a newer style microphone in the transmitter and a new receiver inside the receiver capsule, and a network board so that Jimmy can hold a everyday conversation with the clarity and the audio and transmit that he's going to need to use this telephone. But on the crank issue that I was talking about, it does not put out any voltage. So I'm going to have to go through that and see what happens. So we'll be troubleshooting some things. And there's this bell. Somebody has already started working on it. Jimmy had somebody look at it and was working on it, and he said the crank worked up until a point where the person that was working on it, it wouldn't produce voltage after that. So I'm not sure what happened or what was worked on, but it was ringing the bell at one time, and now it will not because it's not producing voltage. Now we have the line off of it. That was just to check it. This gives you a little look at the inside of the telephone. Now we want to pull that crank out and go through it anyway, so we'll kind of get into that, and that's what we'll be doing on our break. But it's a very cool telephone. We also want to install a modular port on the inside of this telephone so Jimmy can simply bring a line cord in and plug any length, any color line cord that he wants into this telephone. And he's going to drill his own hole in the back when he figures out where he's going to mount it. So he's going to go ahead and drill the hole for the line cord. Another issue is we're going to have to get a new receiver capsule line cord. This one is a cloth cord, and we'll probably put a cloth cord type on it. So we're going to take a short break and start working on this telephone. And we're going to get some video of this telephone as we move forward in the process of repairing it and converting it. But it's a very nice Kellogg wooden wall crank telephone in very good condition. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back. Okay, we've removed the crank and we're going to start troubleshooting the crank and go through this magneto and see what kind of problem it has and why it's not putting out any voltage. Another issue is all the wiring that somebody had put in it. We're going to remove all that. That's not going to stay. We're going to replace that and do it properly. And then another issue was on the front of the telephone, there is a shelf, and Jimmy does have that shelf. So it's a very nice telephone. So what we've been working on is some of the bell circuit, and we finished off some of the bell circuit, and we also had to go into the magneto and work on the crank here. And so we have that straightened out, and it has been repaired. So what we want to do now is I'm going to do a little test. I want to hold the magneto. I want to go ahead and ring the bell there. So basically, now what we're going to do is take another short break, and we're going to just be working on installing a network, putting the magneto back into the telephone, and getting a microphone in and a receiver capsule and putting another line handset cord on, or a receiver capsule cord on. And so we're just going to be working towards finishing off this telephone. And we have a few things apart here because I wanted to tighten up. This transmitter neck was loose, and so we've got that tightened up. And it wasn't loose where it swivels up and down. It was loose where they bracket it into the mounting bracket. And so that's all been repaired now, and that's no longer loose, and it doesn't wobble back and forth. The bell has also been reinstalled, and it is not loose anymore. So all that is all stable now, and we're going to take a short break. Okay, we're back now, and this telephone has been finished up. So we'll run through a little bit of what went on. Quite a bit happened to this telephone. Earlier in the video, we talked about putting a newer style microphone element in the transmitter and a newer style receiver in the receiver capsule, and a network board so that Jimmy could hold a everyday conversation with the quality and clarity that you will need to talk on this telephone. You could hold a everyday conversation on this telephone now, and you'll never know any difference than it being a different phone. And so anyway, we also got some hardware. We installed some hardware for Jimmy to be able to close the telephone door up. The door is not latched here. We don't have it screwed tight, so it's going to move around a little bit. We took care of the bell situation where they were all loose and got them all adjusted and went through the bells and made sure they were fine. Also, the neck on this telephone was swiveling around, and we got that straightened out, and that's all tightened up now. And we installed a newer style cloth handset or receiver capsule cord, so it's black cloth like the one that was on there originally. So we got that taken care of. We also went into the telephone and rewired everything and got that all straightened out and squared away, and ripped out the old wiring that was somebody had put in there. I talked to Jimmy, and he told me that somebody he knew or someone had started working on this telephone, is a telephone guy or someone, and he had the magneto working at first, and then he did something and then the magneto quit working. So we went into the magneto like earlier in the video and got the magneto repaired. We went through the hook switch, got that wired properly, installed our network board, got our receiver connections in there all fixed up. We've got our bell circuit installed that we made, and rewired everything and wired it the way we needed it to be wired to work properly. So everything is finished up now. We're going to do some checks on this telephone. One other issue we took care of is a modular port. So now all Jimmy has to do, and he's going to drill the hole in the cabinet because he's going to hang it on the wall, so he's going to pick and choose the area that the hole is for, or where it's at located inside the box, so he can install any length modular cord, any color he wants. And now all he has to do is walk up to it and simply plug it right in. And now it's on the outside of the door, but once he gets this hole made, he'll just bring it in through the back. So everything is finished up now, and we're going to go ahead and do some final checks with this telephone. And I want to go ahead and shut the door here, and we want to come around and I want to crank the telephone. We also created a circuit that when you walk up to the telephone and you crank the magneto and ring the bells, it breaks it away from the telephone line, so we're not backfeeding any voltage into the telephone line. So now what we can do is we'll go ahead and ring the telephone. We'll let that go a few times. dial tone. Now I want to click the hook switch and make dial tone go away. And then if you look at the analyzer, you'll see a red light there. Every time I tap a transmitter, that red light will work. And that's an indication of 100% modulation on transmit. So we know it has transmit, and we know it has receive. We know the bell is ringing. Let's try this. Let's take the handset off, give you some dial tone, and if I just start to move the crank a little, that circuit that was created keeps the voltage from the magneto from backfeeding into the telephone line. So that all works properly. Now what we can do, we can move the telephone over to a regular telephone line, and we won't be able to call out with this telephone because there's no dial installed on this telephone, and Jimmy didn't want one. But we can still call out, and we'll just use a tone dialer, and we'll do that real quick, and we'll call a time and temp. I want to give you some dial tone.
Good evening. When you need body work, we're a short drive away. Offenburg Body Center, 234-0330. Today is Tuesday, August 21st. The time is 9:15. Current temperature, 83 degrees. Now the Belleville area weather forecast. Mostly clear tonight and Wednesday, low tonight around 60. Wednesday's high around 90.
Okay, so we know the telephone is working, and now Jimmy can get this telephone back and enjoy it. It's just a really cool Kellogg wooden wall telephone with a cathedral top. We'll go ahead and ring it one more time with the magneto. And we don't have to worry about backfeeding any voltage into the telephone line when we do that, because I'm sure there's people going to walk up to this telephone and crank it and watch the bells ring, and I'm sure Jimmy will probably show quite a few people that. So he won't be backfeeding any voltage into the telephone line, and it won't be disturbing anything. We'll go ahead and ring it one more time with the analyzer. Let that go one more time. Just give you some dial tone. This is Dennis with A1 Telephone Service and Repair, A1 Electronics. You can reach us on the web at www.a1-telephone.com, and you can also reach us at 618-235-6959. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.